Welcome to a podcast. Unlock your full potential with Krishna consciousness and mindfulness. Learn how to unlock your full potential by cultivating a deep connection with the divine while practicing mindfulness to enhance your awareness and focus. Explore the principles of Krishna consciousness and mindfulness and embark on a journey towards self discovery and spiritual growth. Today, we have a very elevated soul and esteemed guest on our podcast, our dear Her Grace Padmini Devi Dasi Mataji from ISKCON Kormangla, Bengaluru. Mataji and her husband, His Grace Vijay Venugopal Das Prabhuji, have been preaching Krishna consciousness since 40 plus years and have impacted thousands of lives directly and indirectly in a positive way. Mataji has co authored many books like Bhakti Vriksha Modules, Bhakti Vriksha Leader, The Third Partner on Marriage Counseling. Mataji and Prabhuji traveled to different parts of the world to help establish Vaishnava communities via Krishna consciousness and for preaching Krishna consciousness. Places or parts like Russia, UK, USA, Canada, Argentina, Peru, Brazil, Germany, many more, and of course, Indian cities. Currently, Mataji lives in Bengaluru. I am also one of the soul impacted in a positive way via Krishna consciousness. All credit goes to Mataji and Prabhuji as they are my spiritual mentor and coach. Hare Krishna Mataji, Don
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
Welcome to our podcast, Mataji. Like we are immensely blessed that you have taken a precious time out for us. So over to you, Mataji. You can start with your introduction and what is Krishna consciousness and what is the role of mindfulness in Krishna consciousness?
Okay. So, Krishna consciousness, as the name implies, is an awareness or being conscious of a reality which we're not normally aware of when we are, you know, under the control of our mind, when we allow the mind to go its own way. And Krishna consciousness is to, go beyond the mind and be aware of a higher reality of the presence of God in our lives, in every aspect of our life. And we know that mindfulness is also acting upon the mind to be aware of what is happening all around, to be aware of what is your experience, and so on. Because normally the tendency of the mind is always to keep jumping from the past to the future, to thinking about so many desires and fantasies that we have, but never at the focused on the present. That is the nature of the mind. The mind is being made like that, and because of that we find that we are not efficient enough. The mind is always, we are not alert into what we are doing, of what we are doing, and we're not able to focus. And on the other hand, what happens is we get unnecessarily disturbed. We live in the some past um, you know bad experiences seem to haunt us, or we are always fantasizing about the future and not working at the present for a future. So there are so many things like that, and because of the distractions, we keep on hopping from one topic to the next in the mind, and also we chase big, big dreams that we forget to enjoy what we already have, right? All around us, there's so much to be happy about. Happiness just doesn't depend upon some big, big achievements. And this is what mindfulness talks about, and Krishna consciousness includes mindfulness because um, Krishna consciousness is also about transcending the mind and getting a higher awareness and consciousness, which makes you, your intelligence takes over your mind, and so you're able to focus, and also in a very natural way because it is not artificial. Just like mindfulness makes use of day to day activities which you are focusing your attention on, whatever you're experiencing within, it is not something artificial. It's an reality, it's an experience, but you're allowing your mind to focus on the moment. In the same way, Krishna consciousness is also um, focusing on the present work that we are doing, but connected with the truth, absolute truth of God, who's always with us. It's a higher reality which we are not aware of. There are so many things we cannot perceive with our eyes and with all our senses, and still it is a fact. There are so many things we cannot visually see, and yet we know it exists, right? Mind itself, for that matter, where is the mind? We cannot see it, it's a very subtle thing. So, in the same way, just as we accept mind as a reality, even though we cannot see it, in the same way, God is also a reality and, whom we cannot see with our senses. And actually, what comes between us, we are, I mean, who are we, first of all? That in Krishna consciousness, we understand everything about ourselves. Okay, that we are not just the bodies, but we have a mind, an intelligence, an ego, and a soul. So it's a complete holistic understanding of ourselves, and also beyond that, our connection with the super soul of God. So now, what comes, actually, the soul and the super soul are always together, and that makes life very happy because you're always connected with the divine, who's super soul, who is full of all kinds of potencies. And so we never are at a loss of, in any situation, nor do we lack anything when we're always connected with him. Then why is it that we forget about him and get into all these problems, depressions, negativities? It's only because of the mind which comes in between us and the super soul. So, actually, all spiritual traditions focus on the mind, because the mind is really the culprit which is preventing us from being, complete, whole, and happy, very efficient, alert, conscious. So, in that sense, there is a lot of connection between mindfulness and Krishna consciousness. And being Krishna conscious will definitely make one very, very mindful.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Lots of insights, and I'm sure audience will love it, and they will get a lot of answers for the questions. Okay. So my next question is: in what ways does Krishna consciousness contribute to inner peace and well-being?
Okay. Because, see, it is like, um, in the darkness. Suppose you enter a dark room and you don't know what is there. You just imagine things where some objects you can feel, and then you think maybe it is like this, it is like that, and so you have a lot of anxiety and tension about what could be in the room, right? We feel very afraid to walk in the dark, for example. But the minute you switch on the light, then you see everything as it is, and then all your fear disappears, isn't it? Because you can see that whatever I imagined was not true at all. Anxiety and fear was simply, um, it was unnecessary. It was my own imagination. In the same way, Krishna consciousness connects you with your inner self, your true being. The light, I mean, it's a awakening which happens through knowledge, true knowledge about who we are, and it touch bases with our eternal connection with the Supreme Lord. And because of that, then we feel completely peaceful because we know we're completely protected in all circumstances. What we know only partial truth, that I'm acting with my body, I have to, everything is dependent upon me, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we lose confidence because of that, because it seems unrealistic to demand so much from ourselves, when actually we are only a part of the whole. The whole is we and God are eternally connected. And with that kind of support behind us, that is when we get complete self confidence. But without that, when you think you're alone and you have to prove everything, the whole life you have to be a success, and in every way, then that puts a lot of tension in our and stress in our minds, because it's not possible. People just pretend that they can do a lot of things on their own, and then when they see that they're not able to do it, that is when some of them, they just they don't know how to face life, and they become very depressed. That's asking too much on ourselves. Actually, life is meant to be lived very happily when you know the truth. But when you understand, oh, I'm not alone. I'm eternally connected with a supreme being who is my best well-wisher. That's when you can become completely peaceful and knowing that everything is taken care by him.
Thank you so much, Mataji. How does chanting mantras enhance mindfulness and spiritual awareness?
Ah, yes. Okay.
And also tell the mantra which we chant, Mataji.
Okay. Mantra itself means that man means mind, and trayate, tra refers to trayate, which means delivers. So mantra delivers the mind. So it's very, very effective, because these mantras are not just ordinary material sound vibrations, but they are mantras which refer to uh, the names of spiritual beings. There are different mantras, and what we chant, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, refers to the supreme being Krishna and his energy Hari and his expansion Rama. So these are very powerful spiritual names, and the mantra, when you chant their names, they are present in the mantra. They appear in their names. That is spiritual. Difference between material and spiritual. But on the other hand, um, uh, sp- spiritual mantras, when we recite them, then the Lord and His potencies, everything is present in that. So, um, when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, for example, then it overpowers the mind. We, in fact, neglect the mind and we listen to the holy names. And because of that, we touch base with our inner spiritual selves, and the mind becomes free from all its various thoughts. Right? We're trying to stop all the different thoughts, and but the problem is that we are never able to control the mind. But by chanting mantra, very naturally, our higher self, that is the soul, gets awakened, and in that moment, we can forget. I mean, the mind gets cleansed of all its thoughts, because it's a material instrument, mind. And the more we chant the mantra, we identify ourselves with our soul, and the mind becomes free from all its material attachments, and it becomes still and peaceful. So, chanting mantras helps the mind to be controlled, and an intelligence takes over, and the intelligence is guided by a higher, by our soul, and the soul is controlled by the super soul. It's voluntarily surrender. It's not like a materialistic control, or of a slavery or something. It's voluntarily loving surrender to the supreme Lord, who then completely takes care of the living soul. So this is what mantra helps us to completely liberate our mind. And whatever you talk about in mindfulness, to be just aware of the present and do your work, and then not be so judgmental, allow things to flow as it is. All that happens in Krishna consciousness, because we allow things to happen the way that Krishna wants. We know that He is taking care of everything. It's a reality that you'll experience as you chant the mantras. You find the presence of God in all your activities. And so then it becomes very sublime experience, of working for his satisfaction and pleasure. And
Yes.
in this way, this is how the mantra helps in being mindful and in being Krishna conscious.
When we use this word consciousness with Krishna, right? It's called Krishna consciousness. So, what does that consciousness word depict with Krishna when we say Krishna consciousness?
Krishna consciousness means that we are supposed to always remember him. Actually, we have forgotten, I mean, the soul's nature is to be always aware of him. But in the material body, because now we are aware only of our body and our mind, we forget him. It's very difficult to always think of him because he's a spiritual being. And unless you raise your spiritual consciousness, you cannot think about him. We tend to think about all the things that we are experiencing materially, right? Mm,
Right.
Whatever material objects, people, that realm which we can experience through our body and mind. But
Right.
above that is the spiritual reality, and Krishna is a spiritual reality. And so, by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, then we awaken to our spiritual reality, and then we can always think of Krishna at all times. So, that is why it's called Krishna consciousness. And if you're conscious of Him, then you'll always be happy, always be protected. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything is taken care of by God. It's not that we become lazy. We do our work. Krishna says, you do your work, at the same time think about me and depend upon me. So that's why it's called Krishna consciousness. We need to work with a consciousness of the higher reality that I'm part and parcel of the Supreme Being, God, Krishna, and remembering Him, we all do all the work so that He will be satisfied.
Is it true like when someone who is practicing seriously this Krishna consciousness, so whenever that person goes through ups and downs in life, they are still at they're still at peace because they feel that they are connected with divine, right? They will not go like too much into depression or anxiety too much because somewhere they have that support of divine. Is it true, Mataji?
Yes, actually, we have, when things don't go our way, we should understand that Krishna has got a better plan for us. We plan something, we think this is the way everything will be fine. And if they don't happen the same way that we are expecting, then we should leave it to, let it go according to the way that Krishna wants. And then you'll find that whatever he planned is far better than what I had planned. So, this is exactly what you do in mindfulness, also, isn't it? That
Yes,
you you let things flow as it
yes,
is. You don't worry about the results, isn't it? Exactly
yes,
what Bhagavad Gita also says. Just do your duty and do not worry about the results. Just be thinking about this moment, what I'm doing, and future will take care of itself. The results are given by Krishna, isn't it? We live moment to moment, and that is the way you'll be successful. Because when you're not worried about the results at all, then you will give your best, utmost. You'll concentrate, and that's it. That moment, whatever you did, that will give you great happiness. I've done my best. And as it all builds up, if you're always doing the correct things, finally the result has to be good, isn't it? It will be good. And especially if you are depending on the Supreme Lord, then how can it not be good? The last verse in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is a devotee like Arjuna, there will always be victory, great opulence, extraordinary power, and morality. Of this, there is no doubt.
True,
So
Mataji.
it helps us to be mindful that way. That Krishna, that's what he says. Karmanevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have a right to perform your duty, but you're not entitled to the results. Results are given by Krishna. So that makes it very peaceful, right? I just do what I'm supposed to do, and results are given by Krishna. Why should I be anxious about the results? Because it's not in my hands at all. Results are not given by me.
True,
That way
Mataji.
it helps you to be mindful.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Mataji. Same for mindfulness. It's like to stay in the present moment and go with the flow because it's like ups and downs are like day and night, like winter and summer season. It will pass. So just do your work and leave the rest. Higher power, divine, Krishna, whatever goes.
Then you
Just
can enjoy every moment of your life. You don't
yes,
worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Today, I'm doing my best, and definitely the results will be good because God is there, right?
yes,
He has his own plans, and it will. When you look back, you will see how everything fell into place, and the moments that you were tense, unnecessarily worrying about the future when you could have enjoyed whatever you had, whatever those moments. There are so many things we overlook and we don't enjoy in our life because we're always thinking about the future, or we are lamenting up something about the past. But here and now, there are many beautiful things for us to cherish, to appreciate, to be grateful for, and feel very happy about. That is happiness, isn't it? Happiness is not about the events or um, you know, how things should be in your life. Happiness is a state of mind, your attitude towards
yes.
life.
Like many people are under going under
Yes,
stress,
depression.
anxiety. So how you Krishna consciousness is the best medicine I feel. So please share some light on it.
Yes. So, um, because all these problems, depression is a state of mind, and the nature of mind is always to be thinking negatively. It always is prone to think the worst of situations. This is how mind always imagines. For example, if you don't hear from someone far away, then we imagine all kinds of negative things, isn't it? We are not positive thinking that, okay, maybe they were busy. We are always thinking, oh, maybe something happened. We're always anxious. The
Yeah.
nature of the mind is like that. And so, um, by itself, when the mind is not guided by
Hmm.
the intelligence, and the intelligence is not under the control of the soul,
Hmm.
spiritual intelligence. If the mind
Hmm.
does not get spiritual intelligence, then what happens? The nature of the mind is also to degrade. It keeps becoming more and more negative,
Hmm.
and all the bad qualities like fault finding, dissatisfaction, greed, then envy, all these sort of qualities which are negative are actually very much part of the mind, unless the mind is constantly elevated by spiritual touch, because spiritual uh, being, the soul as well as the super soul is very positive because it's part and parcel of Krishna, who is all positive. Unless we have the divine connection, we will degrade into more and more negative thinking and develop all these negative traits. And so, because people are not able to touch base with the inner happiness which comes from the soul, that is the reason for all depression, anxieties in today's world, because people have no spiritual knowledge at all. They have no knowledge about who is God, how do I connect with Him. So naturally, the mind is left on its own, and it keeps degrading, and it goes to a a situation of so much of unhappiness. Actually,
Mm.
that's the reason why someone may be having me- nothing wrong materially in their lives. For example, Deepika Padukone, you know, she shared her own life. She said, you can see that she is very materially successful, uh, born to very rich and famous parents. She's very beautiful, famous, popular, everything, and still she had depression. So it is nothing to do with the material, situation. The mind, when it is not connected with a higher, this thing, uh, when you are not touch basing with your soul, which is always full of happiness, and because and soul in connection with Krishna is always ecstatic, very very happy. Only because of forgetfulness of our relationship with God do we become this thing depressed. So, Krishna consciousness very quickly elevates a person from their mental state. They get in touch with a spiritual being. Very fast, they come out of depression. I've seen so many people who have come out of depression through Krishna consciousness.
Mm. Yes, ma'am. Even I have seen, like they have stopped taking medicines also, and they are totally completely out of that right now, and they're living good life, into the better life.
Yes, they stopped. Even the doctors were very, you know, they were surprised because some of them were taking medicines for the last 10 years and they were still not cured. And they came to Krishna consciousness within a few, some of them very quickly, few days, some of them few weeks, some of them few months. And what medicine could not cure, they got completely cured. They became completely, totally different personalities with Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Mm. Next was, how does the concept of seva or selfless service relate to mindfulness and Krishna consciousness?
Okay, so the nature of the soul is always selfless. It always wants to give others love, service. Nature of the body and the mind is to demand, exploit, gratify. So actually, and that's why when we try to do and any service, selfless service is an expression of our love, right? That is really love. So that is why, and even science, psychologists say that if you do some selfless service, right, then you feel happy because they talk about the chemicals in the brain. Dopamine is enhanced, I mean, it's produced, and that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
That even chemically it happens like that, but spiritually, when you become selfless, because the nature of the soul is to be selfless, so then your higher nature is awakened and then you become very happy.
Yes, so true, Mataji. Mm. What are some common misconceptions about Krishna consciousness and mindfulness?
Okay, about Krishna consciousness, people think that you have to become renounced, then you cannot be part of the everyday life, or you cannot have normal family life. That's what they think, but it's not true, because everything in this world is created by Krishna, and it is for us to be happy. But just like he, because he is the creator, he's also given some uh, prescriptions, what will make you happy, what are the things to be avoided, that's all. So we follow that manual, you're going to be very happy. Even as long as you're here in the material body, you can also be happy, enjoying, and also go back, completely be liberated from this material misconception, because we don't want to die. That is the what is wrong about material life, because we don't want our nobody wants to go through the painful experience of death, and yet we have to do it. But when you become spiritually enlightened, then you understand that I'm not this body. So death also doesn't, in any way trouble you or restrict you. You just go to your eternal, you get your eternal body,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're happy eternally. So you're, in a way, in the mode of goodness, that's beneficial for everyone. That is how it is when you do everything to please Krishna. So automatically you're very happy, and everybody around you will be happy with you. You don't have to renounce anything. You just have to connect it, understand that everything comes from Krishna. And about mindfulness, maybe they think it is something that belongs to certain traditions like Buddhism, isn't it? Normally,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about that. Um,
Yeah.
so it is not like that. Mindfulness is true for everyone, whether you're an atheist or a devotee. Everybody's got a mind, and so it will be very helpful for everyone. They will really be very, very efficient, and they'll be able to deal with people also, manage also people very well, because they're not overpowered by their mind. Okay, they can accept people, be more sensitive, empathic, because you're noticing people. Also, part of mindfulness is to be a good listener, isn't it? That you just don't allow your mind to be constantly, most of the time, when we are conversing with people, we are thinking about how to respond to that person. We are preparing our own conversations, what to say back to them, reply to them, rather than just being relaxed and completely taking in what they are saying. So when you listen to people, you can understand them very well, and you'll not make any. There won't be any misunderstandings. You won't make any wrong judgments, and so it is very good way of and dealing with people. Also, you'll be very efficient in that, as well as in taking the right decisions, because your intelligence will work efficiently without being clouded by the mind.
Sure. Thank you so much. You have cleared so many doubts on Krishna consciousness and mindfulness in this very crisp way. So, Mataji, how does the Bhagavad Gita offer guidance for cultivating mindfulness in daily life?
Okay, so Bhagavad Gita talks about, first of all, the very first instruction that Krishna gives is to understand who we are, because Arjuna was completely confused. He was not being mindful in the beginning. He was thinking about the future and what could happen, how, he would be very sad if all his relatives died, and even whether he won, even if he won the kingdom, that would not give him have any happiness. So he was very, very sad. He had already made up his mind, he didn't want to fight, and so on.
Hmm.
So Krishna, first of all, removed his misconception by saying that first understand who you are. You're not this body, you're the spirit soul. So, first, and he said that this kind of happiness and distress is part of life. Sometimes things happen which make you happy materially, your mind and the senses, they're very happy, and sometimes not. But he said it's just like coming or appearance of winter and summer seasons. Sometimes you'll be happy, sometimes it's always, it won't be the same all the time. And so he says you tolerate it. And how can we tolerate it? By understanding, getting the happiness, a higher taste of our spiritual reality. Only when you increase your spiritual inputs or a spiritual intelligence, and you connect yourself with God, and you get a higher taste, a happiness, inner happiness, then you'll be easily able to tolerate all these ups and downs without getting disturbed. And he says that the results are given by me, so why are you anxious? He said you are simply an instrument. You are supposed to do your duty of fighting. That's as a Kshatriya also, as a warrior, it's your duty to fight. And you're not supposed to sit and think about the results. and you just do your duty. And if you do your duty in both ways, in either way, you will be benefited. If you die in the battlefield, then you will go to the heavenly planets because you fought for a right cause and you've given up your life for a worthy cause. So you will be rewarded like that. Or if you win the war, then you enjoy the kingdom. In both ways, you're benefited. So in this way, simply by being mindful and doing our duty and leaving all the results to Krishna, then we will keep making spiritual progress. And when we are fully aware of Krishna and aware about our, who we are, then we are liberated. And he says that even when you're liberated, still continue doing your duty because you'll be a source of, um, you'll be a good role model, a source of inspiration for other people. So nowhere did he say that you become Krishna conscious means that you have to take sannyas. It is
Mm.
meant for everyone. Imagine Arjuna was a warrior, he was a family person, he had children, everything. And Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to him, a worldly man. He did not speak to some sages. So Bhagavad Gita is very, very practical for us to become very happy. And Krishna is the best psychologist because
I
he
agree.
first listened to Arjuna very carefully. He didn't immediately start instructing Arjuna. When Arjuna had poured out his heart completely, Krishna was just silently listening to him. And when Arjuna said, please, now I'm asking you for guidance, please instruct me, that's when Krishna took up. And then he started giving him very, step by step instructions. And Arjuna could keep questioning him, and Krishna would reply to everything, whatever he asked. So, in this way, he, finally, he even, to prove whatever he was saying was not just fantasy. Krishna showed his Vishwarupa, wherein this entire universe was seen in his body. All the great devatas, all human beings, from right from the topmost universe to the lowest part of the universe, everything was situated on his body. After saying that, nobody can have any doubts about the existence of God, His supremacy over this entire material creation. And he told Arjuna, you're just an instrument in my hands. Don't think if you stop fighting, they're not going to die. It's my decision. I've already planned that they should be killed. So you can just be an instrument and take credit for whatever happens. So, since we are just instruments in the hands of God, we should not worry about the results because we are not the controllers. This is Bhagavad Gita's message.
Mataji, thank you. But I've got one follow-up question, which many ask also based on this. Like, even when bad happens to people, they think that God has done bad to me. Gita is mentioned, right? Like, Krishna does everything. So when something bad happens, they people say that God has done bad to them, and so share some light on this, Mataji.
Because good and bad should be understood from both perspectives. See, what is really good is what is eternally good for us, not just what is temporarily good for us. So, when
Mm.
Krishna has got a higher plan to elevate our spiritual consciousness, sometimes we may go through some difficulties in material life. At that time, we may think, God is not being kind to me, but actually, He is trying to pull us out of this ignorance, attachment to our temporary existence. We've taken so many different births, and in so many different births, we've had different bodies, different families, right? And if we want to not to have again be born again in ignorance, take another body, and go through all these ups and downs in life, then so sometimes he may drag us through some difficult moments just to raise our consciousness. And spiritually, everything is good. So that is how when you get more knowledge about God, who He is, who we are, that is when we can have full faith and trust in Him and believe that He is our best well wisher. and whatever happens in our life is only for our good.
Yes, Mataji. I agree. Thank you so much, Mataji. And can you share personal experiences or experience with Krishna consciousness and mindfulness intersected in profound ways?
Um, yes, actually, I'll share two things. Um, One is, I had a great desire to travel, and somehow, but when we got married, and after that, somehow at that time, my husband was going on tours, but I could not accompany him in those times. And I thought, okay, maybe Krishna doesn't want me. It doesn't matter. I just left it. And
Mm-hmm.
later on, for his service, he took me to literally all parts of the world. Okay.
Yes.
So then I thought, see, he wanted my visits, my trips to be purposeful, not simply go there and I enjoy myself sightseeing. And so that has a better thing. That is one thing, example. And another example, day to day life. When I'm cooking, even cooking becomes a very pleasurable and a enjoyable moment when we are thinking about cooking for the pleasure of God, and we're thinking about Him. Then it just happens. The creation happens in amazing ways. The taste, for example, how it turns out. Also, I'm amazed. I don't think I did it. It just happened because of my dependence on God. And then we offer it to God. That also makes the food, spiritualized. There is a different taste in it. And just by eating that food, we grow in our spiritual consciousness. So this is something every day that I'm really amazed how just by doing the simple service with a little faith and devotion, offering it to Him and experiencing the taste, I'm growing more mindful, more Krishna conscious, and closer towards and happier. That's the main thing. We want to be happy. Ultimately, whatever I am, I want to be happy, isn't it? That happiness comes only by understanding our reality, our truth. See, unless even in material life, unless we know who we are, sometimes children are adopted, right? And the child, when it comes to know these are only my adopted parents, even though the adopted parents gave the child everything, still it's going in search of the real father and mother. So even in the material world, we want to know the reality, the truth, who I am, isn't it? Otherwise we don't feel complete, we feel lost. In the same way, unless we know who we are actually, who am I? What's my purpose in life? Why was I born? Yeah, and
Yes.
what's the goal of life? If you know these things, then you will become very, very happy. So that's why Krishna consciousness is very much essential for everyone. And mindfulness you will also get by being Krishna conscious.
Yes. I think I became more mindful when I came into Krishna consciousness, right? For everything we think, like you said, for eating, for cooking, while communicating, right? For everything. Any advice you want to give to the audience who will listen this or who are listening to it?
Yes, to we have, I mean, to be open about this great knowledge of Krishna consciousness and start reading the books, small books we have of great, deep truths about the Vedic wisdom, which we are not at all aware, which is not taught to us in the universities or schools, or nobody knows the truth, and we are just all groping in the dark, and we're trying to find sense in a senseless world. Today, people are just, turning to violence and so much of chaos, and relationships are breaking down. So much of suffering is there. So, without wasting time, if you can start reading the books of Srila Prabhupada, which are available, then it will open up a big, I mean, it's like you suddenly opened a whole new world of truths which we never knew, nobody taught us. And then every day will be exciting.
Can you name some books, Mataji, like if you want to search?
Yes, you can read Life Comes from Life, Scientific Basis of Krishna Consciousness, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, The Hare Krishna World, Hare Krishna Challenge, and Raja Vidya, like this, Science of Self Realization.
Yes. Tell now. What is the purpose of human life, which you have found?
So we go through so many bodies before we come to the human form of life. Actually, Darwin, he just said that, I mean, different species evolve into another. The body itself evolves. But how can the body evolve into another body? We don't see any such example. But he probably would have got it from this Vedic text, which talks about how the soul goes through different bodies in the to in the process of evolution. So we have all gone through being an aquatic, a tree, a plant, and then reptiles and birds and animals. We've gone through so many forms of life, and finally, we have come to this human form, which is the only, I mean, only in the human form of life you can understand that you're a higher being, you're a soul, and you can understand God. This is the only difference between animal and human being. Otherwise, animals also eat, we also eat. They have, they sleep and we sleep. They mate and we mate, and they defend themselves, we also defend. They lie down to sleep, maybe on the road or on a, some stone or somewhere outside. But we also lie down maybe in a more sophisticated, setting. We lie down on the nice, comfortable bed, but still, it's the same. We sleep. So, what is really, and they have material intelligence of how to defend themselves, how to find food for themselves. They're very intelligent. So, it's not even intelligence which distinguishes us from animals, it's only the capacity to be able to understand who we are, who is God, and the ability to prepare ourselves to go back to our eternal life where we don't have to die again. So that is why this human birth is so valuable.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So it's almost going to be an hour, but it was very smooth podcast. So I just want to say something that that you have come into my life. So I am having immense, infinite love and gratitude towards you for that, and Prabhuji also, because I think I have evolved as a person. I lost my mother, so but I somewhere Krishna, I know Krishna consciousness have helped me. You helped me. I met you for that, Prabhuji. So I really want to tell the world, or the person who's listening to this podcast, they should join you. Come join us in ISKCON Kurmula. They should meet you, and if they have questions, I'm sure you will clear the question with a lot of you know proper reasoning also, right? Because people want a lot of logic to understand, even divine. So because I have seen you have answered a lot of questions like that to us, so I really request others, to all the souls, to come and join us in this conference. And I'm sure Prabhuji and you will guide us, towards the light. Thank you so much, Mataji, for coming into this podcast and taking out your precious time. We get up so much early and yeah, it's too late.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you, and to, I hope the viewers also benefit by our
I'm sure,
conversation.
Mataji.
Thank you.
I'm sure, Mataji. It's a lot of insights from you, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
I'm sure all the viewers will benefit a lot from this podcast. Like it's really very insightful. Enjoy the benefits of a peaceful mind and a deeper spiritual connection with Krishna consciousness and mindfulness. Stay Krishna conscious, mindful, and blessed. Thank you. Take care. Hare Krishna.